Hey, it's Jeremy. You're back. I'm here. That means it's time to warm up for your workout today. Our warm up today is going to be super easy to follow. We're going to be spending about a minute or so going through a bunch of different movements. So spending about a minute going through a movement, and then we'll move on to the next one, almost treating today like an imam. We're going to start things off with a squat, the basics and the basis of almost all the movements that we do. So let's find that squat stance. Feet are going to be between hip to shoulder width apart. We'll be reaching our hips back and down, standing on up. Notice that I'm keeping a tall chest. If I'm looking at the ground, then my chest always follows. So we want to look straight out ahead of you. Going through those squats, as we're doing these, they might feel a little bit tight. Don't worry, we're going to continue to move and go through this warm up and have you feeling good going into your workout. Continue those squats. You're going to be going again for about a minute or so, and then just transitioning into some different movements. Something I like to do in my squats, especially in the warm-ups, is if I'm finding the bottom of the squat, maybe grabbing the elbows, or pressing rather with the elbows, pressing my knees out, going back and forth, standing back up tall, hanging down at the bottom, moving through hips, moving through ankles. Whatever feels good for you is great. Following along with this warm-up is a fantastic way to get warm, but if you feel like it's missing something, you need some extra attention on a certain area, you can definitely add that in. We're gonna go ahead and relaxing on those squats. We're gonna stay with the lower body here, and we're gonna find our wide stance, so our Cossack squat. We're gonna feel this in a little bit different of a spot, reaching the hips back and over, feeling a good stretch on the inside of that straight leg. Just going back and forth, again, nice and easy. If you wanna really get down there and hang out and get some stretching down at the bottom, going over to the other side, that's fantastic too. Or just keeping your feet right where they are, going back and forth each time. As we're going through this, really the biggest thing and the one thing that I wanna make sure that you're doing is having your heel on the ground. So wherever you're putting your weight, we want that leg to have our heel on the ground. So as I lunge out or squat out to the right, I'm feeling that heel on the right side being stuck to the ground. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna turn this into some inchworm. So with that inchworm, our feet are gonna be a little bit narrower than the squat stance. We'll be walking all the way out. Once we hit high plank, walking the hands all the way back to standing tall, and then walking back out, same thing, and walking them back. If you're looking for the additional challenge, we can go ahead, walk out, go into a one push-up, keeping the elbows nice and tight to the body, and then walking on back. Continue going through those inchworms at home. If you choose to add the push-up in, the push-up can be done from your toes or from the knees. It's a great time to just add some additional push-ups into your day. Just getting a couple extra reps in is really what makes the biggest difference if you're trying to improve those push-ups. So we're gonna just go one more inchworm wherever we're at. We'll finish off that inchworm. As you go ahead, we're gonna walk our hands all the way back up to our feet, finding ourselves into that standing position, going for that traditional jumping jack. There's no way I'll be able to talk through a full minute of jumping jacks while keeping my heart rate under control. So I'm gonna let you do those jumping jacks at home. We can turn that into our step jack, back and forth from side to side as well. That works out just fine. So we're gonna continue with those jumping jacks. We've got about 20 more seconds here working through that jumping jack. Once we go through those jumping jacks, if you know me in my warm-ups, usually I like to go into the flapjack, but we'll give the jumping a little bit of a rest before we do that. In 3, 2, 1, we're gonna go ahead, we're just gonna find our squat stance once again, and then with this squat stance, we're gonna keep our feet here and be lunging out for a forward lunge. Showing this from the side, lunging out, driving through the heel to stand tall, noticing I have the 90-degree angle on that front knee and the back knee. If forward lunges give you a hard time, the reverse lunge is also a great option. And if those lunges just aren't feeling great for whatever reason on the ankles, hips, knees, we can turn that back into traditional squat as well. Whatever feels good for you is gonna be good by me. Let's go for wherever we're at. 2 more lunges, whether it's forward lunge, reverse lunge, or squat. Lost my balance on that one. That's all right. We'll come back up. Now those flapjacks. Feet go back and forth, arms go back and forth. Same thing from the side, feet go back and forth, arms go back and forth. Should feel that good stretch as we're pressing through. Starting to get the heart rate up, starting to move. Make sure you're prepped, primed, ready to make the most of your workout. We can hit the ground running when we get to that main event. Taking a couple breaths there, deep breathing, especially if you feel your heart rate coming up. We can always turn that into some steps, whatever that means for you is just fine. As long as you're moving, I'm happy. All right, last flapjack here. Let's find ourselves into plank position. Noticing my shoulder, my elbow, and wrist are all in line. I might be hiding behind the post here, but we're just keeping that nice flat back. We can always drop to the knees if we have to. Your heart rate is definitely up coming off of those jumping jacks and flapjacks, so take some deep breaths here in plank. Holding here about 20 more seconds. Once we finish this plank, we're going to be going through a few dynamic stretches and then have you ready to kick off right into your workout. We can step our feet up or walk your hands back, come into a standing position. If you need to lean up against a wall for some balance, feel free. Otherwise, we're going to be taking our foot up, bringing it in front, and then giving it a slight pull in towards our body, feeling the stretch through that outside hip. This should not feel painful by any means, so if it's not feeling great, go ahead and we can hop back into plank, or we can go into a little bit of a quad stretch as well. But if you're feeling good with those hips, let's go ahead and continue back and forth. You should feel this in a similar spot. If you're familiar with a pigeon pose, or down on the ground, or a figure four, kind of a similar thought process, just getting a little bit more dynamic, which just means we're moving through this stretch. We'll go one more on each side. And now we'll actually turn that into our quad stretch, pulling on one side and then the other. And if we need some balance, feel free. You can see me grabbing the post, grabbing the wall. Sometimes the balance just is not there. And hey, that's all right. It's all part of the warm-up. Just feeling good all around. One more on each side. Our last one, we're going to take our knee now, pulling our knee up towards our chest. Again, this should not feel painful, and if we need to, we can step back, pressing against the wall, then you have a little bit of that balance there as well. Just going back and forth. Let's go 2 more on each side, 4 total. My quick mental math for the day. All right, that is your warm-up. Should be feeling better now going into this workout than you would have if you just jumped right in. Getting that warm-up is so important. Thank you for following along. As always, if you're doing the right stuff, results will follow. Enjoy your workout today.